Welcome back to the Deep Dig of Sports Pod. We are back, and we are back talking college football season. Let's dig right into it. Before we get going, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're going to go through kind of week one of college football, all the highlights. You ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm ready. It feels good to be back, baby. It feels good.
All right. So, just going down the list of the final scores, LSU USC is one that stood out because I thought LSU was going to cover -4. But what did you see from Lincoln Riley and USC this week?
I think the game really set the tone. The game was set at the first drive of LSU. LSU drives it down the ball, or drives down the ball. They get in I believe, the red zone. And instead of punching it in or taking the field goal on fourth down, they go for it. They do not get it. That is a huge stop for USC with their new defensive coordinator with a hey, we're setting the tone. We're going to play bend but don't break football. And they did that the majority of this game. It actually looked significantly better than I was expecting. I was actually expecting the over on this game because I think both defenses are poor. I thought a lot of points. LSU can put up points. That USC Lincoln Riley is going to be able to put up points, but it was actually a pretty good defensive matchup. And both teams really didn't start to figure it out until the second half. In the second half, you started to see LSU really pound the rock a little bit more. But Miller Moss and Lincoln Riley is going to be a matchup, a duo that is going to have significant cause throughout this league. If they really start to get it going, it's going to be pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, like I wonder how much bigger implications this has for college football playoff this season because USC, a team with Lincoln Riley that people were concerned, can they really match the physicality of the SEC? Uh, can their defense get some stops and that air raid offense kind of stay consistent? And LSU as well, are they? I mean, they're clearly not the powerhouse that they were with like Joe Burrow and
Mhm.
all those wide receivers they had. So is this a year where they take a huge step back and kind of fall out of that ranking, get towards the middle of the pack of the SEC?
I think they're too good to fall out of like ranking, but I do think that I don't even think it's a step back for them, really. Like, realistically, this is what they've been the last few years where we're going to lose some games, we're going to win some games, we're just going to be overall disappointing. And I think Brian Kelly, if his seat's not hot already, it is going to get hot throughout the rest of this season because you can't drop games like this. And I know you can get up there in the presser and you could be mad all you want. And you could be like, hey, we didn't do a good job. This is the third year in a row that you've lost your home or your opener. It's a coaching thing at this point. It is not the players. It is a coaching thing. And I know he took accountability for it, but that's like me being mad at myself and be like, damn, I shouldn't have ate all those sweets this weekend. I know I feel like crap. It's my fault. I will do better. And I do the same thing next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of another team that isn't a powerhouse anymore, Clemson versus Georgia. Clemson getting blown out 34-3. I mean, this one was close going into the third. Um, and then Georgia just you saw the talent start to take over. The wide receivers looking great, quarterback looking great. And I don't know. When I was watching this game, I just felt like yeah, Georgia's gonna take over. I think I live bet the over on the score overall was like 28 at half.
Yeah.
So I was like, definitely they're not gonna contain Georgia that much longer. So what do you feel from Clemson this year?
I think they're still a team that can win the ACC. I mean, even then, that's kind of a toss up because Miami looked so good. They looked pretty dominant. If you had to like choose today who it was going to be, it was probably going to be Miami. But I mean, the ACC is also just ass all in general. So that's cool. But Dabo's got to change, man. I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it without utilizing the transfer portal. And you don't need to be Deion Sanders at Colorado getting a brand new team every single season. You could be Ohio State, where it's like, okay, we only have a few holes that we need to fill. Who is going to help us out here? Who can get us to where we need to be? You need wide receivers. You've already shown that as of right now, you just do not have the horses. Why wouldn't you go out and grab somebody? Why wouldn't you somebody have somebody to help you out as your team? Your quarterback is not good. When they started off, this is what again setting the tone for me early in these games. I felt really confident with Clemson coming in because the storyline was Dabo is going to do it his way. Clemson is going to find a way to win. They are going to prove everybody wrong because now they have a 12-team playoff, and if they make it, they are going to make some noise. I was like, okay, cool. They start off the game, and they do a little, just quick QB rollout, dump off pass to the running back, and he misses him by a mile. And it was like, okay, the lights are too bright. It is not going to happen. So this offense was just stagnant the entire game. I think they only scored 3 points realistically. So yeah. I what can you say, Dabo? Good luck in the hit the transfer portal, bro, because it is. And then afterwards to get up there and be like, hey, it doesn't matter what the score was. It matters how we played. Well, your team played like ass
Hmm. Yeah, and I know Klubnik got a lot of hate. Quarterback
because he
at
was bad.
Clemson.
He was fucking
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, I'm sure he'll bounce back. But it was a tough week 1 matchup with Georgia. I wanted to talk really quick. Everyone is kind of saying how Georgia's dominant. The ACC isn't as good. ACC went 3-1 versus the SEC this weekend. Um, yeah, with Miami kind of headlining that. How are we feeling about SEC this year? I mean, it wasn't like their dominant teams were losing. It was kind of more middle of the pack, bottom of the pack. Um, but interesting stat to see starting off the year, ACC kind of beating the SEC.
But the ACC is not good. Like, let's just be real.
I'm just throwing out a number in defense of the ACC.
Okay, so it was Vanderbilt that
Yeah.
upset Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was supposed to be a sneaky playoff team. It was a dark horse. People were feeling overconfident about it because they were bringing back so many starters. And Vanderbilt went out there with a freshman quarterback and beat the shit out of, or not beat the shit out of them, beat them. Um, even though they are what many people think is the worst SEC team in that conference.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think the ACC is poor. I even tweeted out that I think that this was after I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, Miami was actually really good, but I was like, Notre Dame should just take the bye week of whoever wins the ACC. That's how fucking bad it is. But I
I
was being over dramatic.
Miami's clearly like head and shoulders above a lot of the teams, but I think we are going to see kind of a come down to earth when they play out of conference. Uh, I think Miami's good, but how good are they really going to be if they play a Georgia, if they play uh, a Ohio State? Like, I don't know how good they will hold up. I kind of want to see their schedule really quick.
Yeah, so I'm
They
pulling it
don't.
up right now.
Yeah, they play Virginia Tech. Like, who's good that they're gonna play?
They
Cal.
actually have a soft schedule coming up. Like
Their
they
schedule
could
is
run the
terrible.
table. Yeah, they could run the table. And so if you had your biggest so let's go ahead and just talk about Miami really quick. So Miami just dog walks Florida at the Swamp. Funny story about that. It was Florida announced that it was going to be a whiteout game, and then like days later, Miami announced that they were going to be wearing their all white jerseys. Pretty crazy. And then they had recruits there. Florida had recruits there on a visit after the shellacking that they gave to the Gators. They Hurricanes go to the end zone and talk to the recruits and are like, "What are you doing? This we run Florida. Come to the U." So bad that there's even a picture of one guy who's on a visit. He's in Florida gear at his Florida visit on Florida campus, throwing up the U. So that it's just embarrassing. What
It's
Billy
tough.
Napier has done to this Florida program is an embarrassment. He should be fired, but they have one of the hardest schedules out there. It is insane. And who is going to want to step up and coach that? I think that they're going to have to keep Billy Napier the rest of this year, even though it's going to be bad. and hopefully they can salvage just based off their reputation of Florida and get a good coach in this offseason. But they should have done it this year.
I think like 4 losses this year, you'd say it's a success for Florida with that schedule. But staying with Miami, this Miami schedule is so soft. I mean, their biggest test is they play Florida State, and we just saw Florida State lose, and we'll see how they handle tonight. But Florida State, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse, like I would put all my money on Cam Ward to win the Heisman after looking at this schedule.
I mean, maybe Louisville's going to test them, but yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of like they're going to run the table on this. This was their hardest thing. This was
They should.
their biggest test going to Florida, going to the swamp. People were going to be excited about it. But Cam Ward was already like he is cool as a cucumber. He is calm as hell. He is bringing in that team vibes with him. They took his leadership and rolled with it. Uh, One thing that he said was like, this wasn't even a good crowd. Like we need to teach Florida to like how to cheer because what they should have done was been really loud when we were in the huddle, not just when we lined up. USC and Oregon were better. And I was like, dude, that's cold. That's
Keep it.
cold blooded.
I mean, yeah. So a couple of other games that were close that I want to touch on: Fresno State, Michigan was actually close, and then Idaho, Oregon. Couple of trick plays for Idaho there. Couple of red zone fails for Oregon, but they ended up pulling away by 10 points. A game that should have been a blowout. I think Michigan too. Michigan was only up 6 points with like 5 minutes left in the game, and then they pulled away. Uh, who concerns you more right now, Oregon or Michigan, with these performances?
Well, I don't think Michigan's going to be good this year. Like realistically, I don't have any confidence in Michigan as a program because of what they're going to be going through. I think that they are going to get hit with some sanctions. They lost a lot. Like I wouldn't be surprised you see that slump with national champions to begin with. So why would I expect them to go out there and repeat, especially with all they lost? So it's not like a huge wake up call. I might be for Michigan fans, but like I think that they're gonna have a real tough time this season. It was more concerning for me the Oregon game because how could you not put up more points, especially with Dylan Gabriel putting up damn near 400 yards? Dan Lanning was pissed, and you are moving to a conference that is a significant step up to what you are used to. I think that everyone put the cart before the horse with Oregon. I think that they are going to have a tougher season this year, especially like with the consistent level of opponent that they are going to be facing. That is not what the Pac-12 schedule was last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna face Michigan State. They're gonna face Ohio State, Purdue, Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington. Uh, they definitely have a chance to lose a lot of games this year. And actually, Michigan State, I wanted to touch on just a. Did you see their quarterback who said take the over
Yeah.
against Florida Atlantic? They ended up winning 16-10. That quarterback went 20. He went 10 for 24 with 2 interceptions. So a
Aiden
little.
Childs, like up until maybe Texas A&M, I was like, Aiden Childs is the worst like Power Five quarterback that we have. I think it might be Connor Wigman of Texas A&M, but Aiden Childs was so bad. I don't know what Jonathan Smith is going to have to do for like with his first year at Michigan State, but they are going to have to pivot so fast.
I think what I noticed a lot of in week 1, there was so many teams that had like big transfer quarterbacks that did not play good at all. And I started to think like if they weren't a transfer, they would they be getting benched right now? Like UCLA, Ethan Garbers,
Hmm.
he was awful. And I don't know if he's a transfer, but he struggled against Hawaii. He's just blindly throwing it 40 yards downfield so many times. And I was just like, they're in the era of the transfer. there has to be at least one quarterback on UCLA's roster that is good right now, right? Like you have so many on the roster, one of them's bound to pop, right? Wouldn't you just cycle through week 1?
Yeah, but also you brought this guy in because you believed in him. I think then you can go the opposite way if you're a team and you can convince yourself like, "Hey, we got to play him." Look at what Cam Ward is doing. Look at what Kyle McCord is doing. Did you see Syracuse, their coach, say that he was going to send a bottle of champagne to Ryan Day for letting them have Kyle McCord? So it's like you have these guys that realistically, like they're leaving for a reason, but I can fix them. I if we can get the perfect landing spot for them. And then you have guys that like just don't pan out. And it is just one of those things like you're dealing with young men and each one is going to react differently. Each spot is going to be different. You could have one that's going to thrive and go crazy again, Cam Ward, or you're going to have one that just fails. So,
Looking like a lot of fails right now, but we'll
but the
see.
highlights are what keep people coming back. They're like, I
Yeah.
can have a Cam Ward, I can have a Kyle McCord, and
Like
it's going to work out for
like
me.
DJU was pretty bad.
Oh my goodness. But everyone that hope, it's hope. You know what I mean?
It's the Carson Wentz, like, oh my god, he has the talent. If we could
It's
just
there.
if we could just get him to do it consistently. And I don't know, there was a lot of quarterbacks this week that I saw and I was just like, I just don't see it this year. I I would be pulling the plug early to save my job and say, listen, one of these backups is going to be Joe Burrow. One of these backups is going to be Baker Mayfield. Like they're bound. I saw a couple games where they would like bring in a freshman quarterback. Not really. I think I watched a lot of FCS uh, this week. You know,
Yeah.
a degenerate gambler, but they were rotating. They're bringing in freshman quarterbacks, and the freshman quarterbacks started to ball out, and then they found like, oh, shit, we have a guy. So I don't know. If my job's on the line in the SEC, I might start taking risks like that, and we're not in one of the upper echelon teams.
I mean, look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt started a true freshman in Diego Pavia, and he ended up getting them the win. And now they have their quarterback for the next few years, or at least until next year when he gets transferred to an actual good school.
Yeah, and
But that's also the thing. Like, you've got to build around these freshman quarterbacks. Like, you've got to have a team kind of not ready, but like ready. You've got to have some pieces in play because if I am a true freshman quarterback, a Dylan Raiola, a Nico, and something goes wrong, or like, hey, you put me in a position that's not good enough for me, someone is going to come in and swoop and get me. You know what I mean?
did we talk Dylan Raiola yet?
No, we haven't. But one thing I want to make one more analogy on the transfer quarterback. It's I was watching Arrested Development and it reminds me of that quote where they're sitting on the cliff and he's like, those fools, they everyone thinks that they can just, do this and everyone fails, but it just might work for us. That's how they look at transfer quarterbacks. Like it just might work for us,
Yeah, DJU,
Yep.
this might win for us. Yeah, but Dylan Raiola, this is your guy.
Oh, dude, I'm all in. I'm like, how can I buy Nebraska gear without looking like a gang member? I'm so hyped for Nebraska this year. Matt Rule coming in has a true freshman quarterback phenom that people wanted. He decommits from Georgia, moves back over to Nebraska because blood is thicker than water. He had a dad that went to Nebraska, and he looks good. And I was gassing him. I was like, yo, what's up with this Pat Mahomes cosplayer? Why are we doing this? Like, that's so cringe. Like, brother, brother, But he went out there and he can sling it. And after the first drive, I was like, okay, I see the vision here. And he ended up, I think the first half, he had like 2 touchdowns and 192 yards.
The
Looked
second
great.
play of the game, he launched a touchdown.
Yeah. So I think you see what he can do. And I'm so excited because next week, Colorado is going to Nebraska. You are going
Ooh,
to see what people are hyping up as Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks in college football, going against Dylan Raiola, who is one of the top freshman quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what they look like against each other and how that matchup is going to play out because I think that Nebraska is real this year. I think that they are going to blow them out.
I to me, yeah, Raiola is amazing. I'm really looking forward to watching Colorado get blown out by Nebraska. Uh, but I just feel like it's so weird how much Dylan Raiola is kind of copying Patrick Mahomes from the hair to the number and yeah, the style of play. But I mean, it looks like I'm looking at a picture of Dylan Raiola now. He looks like baby Gronk with Patrick Mahomes' haircut. Like he looks like such a fanboy.
He
And
idolizes this guy. This is the guy that but to be fair, he does train with him. Like this is a guy that he actually has a relationship with. And it's just like one of those things where you have that age gap, you have that kid that really wants to like hang around you and you're like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he's like, "Oh, you wear polarized sunglasses? I wear polarized sunglasses. Oh, you walk kind of like a little bit prissy? I do too." But you know what I mean?
like how much of this is kind of like almost a marketing play like, hey, look, I'm so much like Mahomes. Maybe when I get to the draft, that's all you guys see. First round pick.
I don't think it's so much of a marketing play because he's 3 years out from being a draft pick, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think that this is, like he's in a phase right now, and he's gonna look back and be like, "Oh, why did I do that?" But it worked. It put him on the map. It made people, like, notice him, and realistically, like, his play is going to speak for itself moving forward that he is Pat Mahomes like, and even if he drops the look and the mannerisms, he still plays this way, it is going to it's gonna mean big bucks for him.
Yeah, I mean that's all. I'd like to see him find his own style, his own thing. I mean, get a different haircut. That's all my thing. But yeah, his play is looking amazing. I'm excited. And speaking of Colorado, they played a tough game this week against North Dakota State. Really, everyone, the whole world was watching this game really because it was Thursday night, right?
It was the Thursday night to kick off the long college football weekend.
Yeah, and it was a nail biter. I think last year the hype was insane for this Colorado team and they won like four games. This year is supposed to be their year where oh yeah, now Deion got his recruits, he got his guys. They fixed the offensive line. But now they're barely squeaking by, albeit a really good North Dakota State team. But how are they going to fare against the Nebraskas of the world? How are they going to fare against their conference? I feel like it's going to be a long season for Colorado. They might be right back at another 4-win season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their schedule. I don't see a whole lot of winnable games for Colorado realistically. I mean, the one thing that they were like, "Okay, we are going to get out and we are going to get an offensive line." They only have one starter coming back. They revamped the entire offensive line. When it came down to crunch time, what do? They throw a pass. And I actually just seen Shilo Sanders and Shedeur kind of talking shit to each other on video. And Shilo was like, "Why'd you throw that pass? That was weird." And it's
Yeah.
just one of those things like,
Did you see what Dion said after the game?
no, what did he
He
say?
said that Shador wanted to get one of that kid a catch for the game.
Okay, so you throw a fade? Like you could throw a slant, like a quick slant, and get an easy catch. Instead, you wanted to show off. You wanted something for your
Here,
Heisman highlight reel. That was stupid.
here's the
If
thing:
I'm
Colorado believes that they are so much better than they are, and so that's why they're playing this almost Madden style against North Dakota State, where they're like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, this game's over. We won. Let's just try to fucking get a highlight in." And it's like, no, North Dakota State came 4 yards away from beating you, but you're over here acting like you're up 40 points and that you're hot shit. But like, it's a close game, literally. Why are we throwing on first down when you can run the clock out?
yeah, I mean, realistically, they're not a great team. Like And their play calling was weird, and you could tell like now that makes a little bit more sense that Shedeur was calling the shots on that because Pat Shermer is there. Pat Shermer is an NFL guy.
I think Pat
It,
Shermer's calling their defense.
Pat Shermer? No, I'm pretty sure he's calling their offense, right? Let me see. Pat Shermer. I'm pretty sure he's the offensive coordinator because isn't he an offensive guy?
Oh yeah, Pat Shermer's calling the
Yeah, he's the
offense.
offense.
Yeah, I mean they have a bunch of side coaches all over.
Yeah, but like realistically, it just felt like a disconjoined game plan. It just didn't match like what they should have been doing. They are so lucky that Travis Hunter is there. They are so lucky that Travis Hunter is going to would follow Deion Sanders to the end of the earth. Shedeur Sanders is a Travis Hunter merchant. Like
Yeah, I mean honestly, when I see all the hype going around Shador, I just don't see it yet. I mean, I think he's good, but I don't think he's like top 5 in the nation. I don't think he's like Heisman candidate quality or first round pick quality. I mean, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong the rest of the season, but I just don't see it, especially in a game like this where he is scrambling around, he's just chucking it up downfield. He got saved on that third down at the end of the game where they called defensive pass interference. It was a bad pass interference by the safety,
mhm.
by who by the way was the backup because their best safety was out. Uh, Travis Hunter just carries this team. He is the most talented player in the country.
Yeah.
He is probably the best receiver, and he's a great corner. He is literally carrying this Colorado team. But once they get into better competition, once they get into more physical competition, I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to go 90 plays in a game.
I think I see maybe one more win on their schedule. So like next week they're going to Nebraska. Then they got Colorado State. We know that they can beat them. Then it's Baylor. Then they go to UCF. Then they have Kansas State coming. They go to Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and OK State.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of wins on this schedule. This is a fucking hard schedule for this team. The Big 12 is no joke. Like these, one, they have offensives, and two, they play fast.
Mhm.
There's not a whole, and they will punch you in the mouth. Utah will punch them in the mouth. Texas Tech will punch them in the mouth. Arizona will punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, I just don't see it with this team. And I think Dion is starting to kind of come to realize it because him after that game where he's like, yeah, it's almost like it feels like we didn't win. Like he's not happy because like talent wise, what they brought in and shit talking wise, what they've been, how they've been feeling, they should have blown this North Dakota State team out. Like if say you're who's in their conference right now, like
It's Kansas State.
say you're Kansas State, say you're Kansas, Utah, you expect to beat North Dakota State by 20, 30 points.
Yeah,
Like they're a great team, but if you're trying to be in the upper echelon of this conference, that's a team you should easily blow out.
yeah.
And they came down to the wire. They came down to the very end. And this it's only going to get more difficult from here. I don't think Travis Hunter, I think physically, I don't know how he's going to hold up this season. I think the Heisman is his to lose, but with this schedule, with the amount of snaps he's taken, I think he should just take it easy and get into the draft.
I don't think that he's gonna. I think that he is gonna miss games. I don't think he's gonna win the Heisman. He should get an award for something, but I think that there's going to be Nico in Tennessee, who we didn't really talk about yet, who is a phenom, who is going to have just one more opportunity in big games. He's going to have more like wins in big games, and he is going to have better stats.
Yeah, and I think Shador is gonna have a tough season. I've seen he's done some good things. He really when he settles into the pocket, he's consistent hitting short and medium throws. I don't really like his long ball right now. I need to see more from that. Um, and then like just running the ball, I feel like he is looking downfield. He's looking to throw, but when he makes the decision to run, he's like hesitant. I like in the red zone, he tried to run the ball. Travis Hunter was open, but he decided to pull it down, and he just like didn't have the speed to really break loose. He just got caught by a linebacker. So I don't know. I'm not big on Shedeur. I'm not thinking he's a first round talent right now, and I think this season's gonna be kind of a roller coaster ride for him. Do you think he's first round?
I think that he is going to be a first round pick just because of the marketability. We've seen guys go higher for less. You know what I mean? And you could convince yourself that, okay, well, if I get him and I coach him, what natural abilities that he has, we can make that into a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. And then he's getting like he's been specially trained from a young age by
Mhm.
like multiple NFL talent. So I definitely could see someone talking themselves into it. I mean, the question is, what's Dion gonna do after this year? Dion gonna follow him to the league? Because
He already said that he's not going to follow him into the league, but I mean, we've seen that he said he was going to stay at Jackson State forever. You know what I mean?
I think Dion's out at Colorado after this year. I think he's not gonna come back. Why would he want to come back?
I could see him being like, I'm leaving because another 4-8 season isn't gonna get it done. And but it's like, okay, well then where do you go? Do you go
Back to TV?
to but do you want to keep coaching? Because I mean, that's what you've been doing right now. Yeah, he isn't recruiting in high school. He is hoping that the transfer portal is going to be a save all. I don't see it being a sustainable model moving forward. I think that what Ryan Day is doing in Ohio State is a much more sustainable model where it's like we are going to go out, we're going to get 5-star recruits every single year, but we are going to cherry pick who we need from the transfer portal and make that's the team. I think that's a much more sustainable model than what Dion's doing, which is high school doesn't exist to me. I'm just going to stack transfer as many transfers that want to come over. Hey, I got baggage. It's Louis. Come on.
Yeah, because when you think about building your team off transfers, that's a lot harder to build a culture.
Yeah, because
And,
there's no continuity.
and you get another 4-8 season, guess what? Transfers ain't coming no more.
Yeah,
And half your team is leaving. So yeah, I've been saying for a while, I think Dion is done after this year. Whether it's 4-8 and they want to fire him, which I don't think Colorado would, but Dion himself has no incentive to be there anymore. Not coaching his sons anymore. Team's not good. Probably going to be a harder time to recruit. And the thing is, too, he's not really being this dominant X's and O's guy. Like,
no.
yeah, he knows defense. He's really like one of the best corners ever. But he is bringing in coaches. He's bringing in talent to coach the team. Is he going to be sustained with coaches still wanting to come back and do 4-8 seasons at Colorado? Like, at what point did people stop being like, "Oh, listen, yeah, I did you a favor because your sons are here, like Travis Hunter's here." Like, who would want to keep coming back to that? I just don't see it happening after this year.
But also, I could see him going up a level to a lower Big Ten, a lower SEC school like Sam Pittman in Arkansas is on the hot seat. Uh,
But do you
Billy
think they would?
Napier at Florida is on the hot seat. You've already seen what he's done to rejuvenate just the campus at Boulder. I'm not saying that he's rejuvenated the program, obviously, but he's got people interested.
He's
He's
literally
got people
he's a
watching.
recruiter. That's it. He's just
Yeah,
a recruiter.
but he's not even like recruiting high school. So it's like,
Yeah,
are you truly a recruiter? But he gains people interest. And so I could see like Arkansas, who just got John Calipari as their basketball coach, wanting to make a big splash and being like, okay, well, we will bring you on, Dion. Come over here and we will get the whole state of Arkansas behind us and interested and ready to go. You know what I mean?
I think he's gonna go back to TV after this, or I think he's gonna have like a specialty role with whatever team uh Shedeur goes to. Or
Yeah.
maybe even like I could see him try to get in where Shilo goes and be like Shilo's DB coach or something.
Yeah.
Like I think he's definitely done after that. I mean, you guys let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough talking about a 4-win team realistically.
We'll
So,
try to
I mean, let's
this is
just go
our
ahead.
LeBron James. This is our we
Let's
gotta do
talk about, I would say, who are your biggest winners and biggest losers from this college football weekend?
I mean, for me personally, my biggest winner and loser was Kentucky this week because they were blowing out who are they playing again? They were winning in a blowout game and I had them to cover I think 35. They're playing Southern Miss. They're winning 31-0 going in the third. And then lightning delays. After this game had already been delayed all day, it was like midnight their time. Uh, they ended up calling the game. They made it official. Um, so everything counted towards bets. But I ended up losing my bet of them covering 35. Lost $100, but who's counting? Uh, Only because of lightning. And I was reading, and they were saying that the owner or whoever, the school, didn't want to build a dome because I don't know, they thought it was cooler with an open stadium, but yet there's bad weather out there. So, Kentucky, you're losing me money because you don't want to build the dome.
That
But
makes
great
sense.
football team. Great football team this year.
Any other winner?
Um, I'd say just in effort and like great job, guys. Fresno State.
Ugh.
Fresno
Ugh, brother.
State,
Ugh.
you're down 6 with 5 minutes to go against Michigan. If you would have told me that, I would say like historically, I'd be like, no, that would never happen. That would never be that close. Yeah, they got blown out in the end, but great job. Also Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Uh, what's the quarterback's name? Pavia.
Yeah.
He looked amazing. I was watching that game. Also, took Vanderbilt to win. So, you know, I gotta get the bets off before the pod this coming week, and maybe talk about them on here. But Vanderbilt looked good. Virginia Tech, their quarterback he was good, but it just felt like Vanderbilt had more want to in them. So, yeah, biggest loser for me, Florida. Like Florida, it was a game that people thought they could win, and they looked terrible.
Yeah. I would say for me, biggest winners, Notre Dame. Notre Dame has an easy schedule the rest of this season. They go into College Station, they go to Kyle Fields, they have a back and forth battle with Texas A&M. They pull it out. They prove that they have one of the top defenses in the entire college football sphere. I think this was a huge win for them. I think that Notre Dame comes out looking like a rose, and realistically, they are going to now have their spot at the college football playoff stamped. I don't see a loss down the road for them. I think they have a pretty easy schedule. So they're taking on Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami, Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, uh, Florida State, and USC at the end of the season. So there's not a whole lot of lost potential there. And even if they drop one or two, realistically, they were not getting a bye week anyways. So there would be in the same boat. So I think Notre Dame is a huge winner. My other winner is the Georgia Bulldogs. You went out there, you laid it all on the line, you put it on the table, and you prove we are a top dog. You thought that Clemson was going to come in here and beat us. Ha, no, we got this. So Georgia is one of the big winners. Big losers from this weekend. I'm with you on Florida. I think Billy Napier is going to be out of there this season. I would also say Texas A&M on that on the other side of the coin of that game. This is one of the games that they had it not within their control to win, and Connor Wegman, their quarterback, just proved that he is not a guy. I think he threw for like less than 200 yards in this game. He threw up on himself twice. It was. Did you see that on the broadcast?
No,
Him vomit.
No.
it was literally after his one of his touchdowns, he throws up on himself. And they're like, yeah, when he got to the sidelines, he did it again.
Hey, I mean,
Disgusting.
Willie Beeman did it, you know?
Yeah, it made him play better. It made him play worse, but you could tell he was shook. So big L for them. And then I would say another big loss, big loser is Oregon. Again, I think Oregon, you should have blown out the Idaho Vandals. It is cause for concern because you are moving up a level in competition as far as what you are playing week in and week out. I think that if Dan Lanning does not turn this around next week and really light a fire under these guys, they're going to be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all we got for today. Um, yeah, you guys comment what you thought about week 1, and we'll be back here next week talking about week 2.
Yep, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. We appreciate it.
See you.
Later.